Hello, my name is Sarah Papworth and I'm one of the co-authors of a paper recently published in Marine Policy. Flagship species are named after the flagships of naval fleets and carried the commanding officer. Flagship species are used to describe popular charismatic species that can stimulate conservation awareness and action. Usually they're large charismatic animals, but this can restrict the number of species which are considered appropriate as flagship species. Conservation organisations may wish to use species that do not share these characteristics to raise awareness and funds. For example, although pandas are large, charismatic and non-threatening, they wouldn't be an appropriate flagship species for coral reef conservation. Under these circumstances, it would be helpful for conservation organisations to know who might support the conservation of a particular species, and also if it's possible to make less popular species more attractive to potential donors and supporters. To understand how choices between different species might be affected by differences between individuals, and also how conservation organisations might take less popular species and make them more attractive, we focused on the differences between sharks and dolphins. We already know about differences between individuals that can affect their preferences for different species, including attitudes, gender, and education. It would be difficult for conservation organisations to change some of these characteristics about people. What they can change, however, is the amount of information that is available about different species. We hypothesised that people would be more likely to donate to species that they had more information about. To test this, we presented people with 3 choices between sharks and dolphins. In the control, only the picture and name of each species was shown. In one condition, there was more information on the shark, and in the other, there was more information on the dolphin. This graph shows our results. Along the bottom you can see the odds of selecting the dolphin. When the odds are above 1, people are more likely to select the dolphin, and when they're below 1, they're more likely to select the shark. The dot shows the mean, and the lines each side show the 95% confidence interval. We can see that we don't have evidence for an effect of gender, as the 95% confidence interval of the odds includes 1. We can see, though, that people with more positive attitudes to dolphins are more likely to select the dolphin, and people with more positive attitudes to sharks are more likely to select the shark. We can also see that biologists are more likely to want to donate money to sharks. So we can see that there are differences between individuals that can explain some of the differences in choices that people make. The information that we provided also affected their choices. When compared to the control condition, people were more likely to select the shark when more information was provided about it. So this is great. We've shown that providing information can change people's decisions. But does it matter what kind of information we're providing? To test this, we focused on the International Union for the Conservation of Nature Red List of Threatened Species, which classifies species according to the threat of extinction. We asked participants to choose between a shark and a dolphin and included equal information about both of them, including about their threat of extinction. We were particularly interested to find out if people would choose more threatened species. Here we have again the same characteristics which might differ between individuals, but this time we didn't find evidence that these characteristics affected people's choices. Instead, we found that people were more likely to select the dolphin when it was more threatened, compared to when both species had the same threat status. Also, the 95% confidence intervals for when the shark was more threatened and the dolphin was more threatened didn't overlap, suggesting that when there is a difference in threat status, participants will select the more threatened species. So in this experiment, we no longer find evidence of differences between individuals, but we do find evidence that information content will change choices. In conclusion, we found differences in individual preferences for species. Thus, even less charismatic species can gain conservation support from some people, and initial market research may help conservation organisations identify these people. However, even with individual preferences, we found that providing more information about one species can shift people's preferences towards that species. And when equal amounts of information are presented about 2 species, potential donors preferred to support the more endangered species. Therefore, conservation organisations may wish to consider choosing endangered species as flagships and promoting greater support by clearly indicating the threat status of the chosen species. I hope you enjoyed this video summary of our research. If you'd like to learn more, then please read the full paper, which can be found in Marine Policy.